Hey guys, welcome back to another Slightly Redneck video. Again, my name's Chris. If you're not familiar with this channel, I help you to produce your own meat, eggs, and vegetables from your backyard, your balcony, your deck, your garage, or heck, even a spare room in your house if that's the way you want to do it. And it is finally time to get the plants in the garden. It's actually kind of a gloomy, rainy, cool day, but these things are outgrowing their pots. They got to go in the ground. Second week of May. We should be out of the woods. In fact, we are out of the woods for any frost, and it should start warming up. It's been unseasonably cold, but like I said, I got to get them in the ground anyway. So that's what we're going to be doing today. All right, so if you guys haven't seen it before, this is my garden layout right here. I've got it all covered with this weed fabric. It's not weed fabric, it's a woven ground cover. Got it all covered to kind of keep the weeds down because they've kind of taken over the last couple of years. But anyway, I don't have a great plan for laying this out. I'm going to kind of work as I go. There's 3 rows here, and they're 50 feet long. So in this row, I'm going to start off with tomatoes, and I'm going to do my cherry tomatoes right here. I've got a couple of cherry tomatoes. You don't need any more probably than like 2 cherry tomatoes because they produce like crazy, and you can't keep up with them when they do. So I'm going to put 2 cherry tomatoes right here. I've just kind of set the cages out kind of where I want it. I'm not going to do any measuring. And then to actually get through the weed barrier here, the ground cover, I'm going to use a little lighter I've got hanging on the fence over here. Just a little torch lighter. It does a great job, and I'm just going to burn a hole through the weed fabric, dig a hole and plant the tomato in it. So it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but I'll bring you in close and let you see how I do that. All right, so to get my hole in the weed fabric, like I said, I've got a little torch here I'm going to use. So I just kind of laid out this tomato cage where I kind of want it to be. I'm going to eyeball basically where the center of that is, and then we're going to put a hole in it. This thing works great for that. It's a fairly controlled flame. If I can get it going, there we go. Fairly controlled flame, just burn a hole, and I can burn it. It doesn't go crazy on me, so I'm going to get a pretty big hole so I can plant a tomato in there. That should be big enough. Here we go. That should be big enough. I may have to enlarge it just a little bit more, but let's see what we can do. All right, let's take a look here. This tomato's wanting to lay over, but that's okay. I may need to go just a little bit bigger on this hole. Let's widen this out just a little bit more. Get away from me there. And that should be plenty big enough. Plenty enough room for me to work here. So I'm going to start by digging a hole. I want a fairly deep hole. You always plant tomatoes fairly deep. Actually, always plant tomatoes deep. Doesn't matter, cherry tomato, slicer tomato, canning tomato, they're all the same. They always get planted deep. Oh, let's see, how deep am I going here? I swear, one thing my garden grows better than anything is rocks. Always grows rocks. All right, I think we're ready to get this tomato in the ground. I'm using these peat pots, but they say that you can just plant the whole pot. I've never found that to work very well, so I always take the pot off, just kind of work it and loosen it up and peel it off. I've dug these up at the end of the year and found the pot still intact. And when I go to plant tomatoes, I'm going to plant them probably, about that deep. So I'm going to strip off the bottom sets of leaves. Don't need them. That's going to root out along that whole thing. So we're going to go, we need to go just a little bit deeper. Alrighty. There we go. That'll do. That will do. And this tomato's wanting to lay over because, well, we've had so much rain. It's been so wet. It's been sitting out in a pot on the deck, and it just got a little bit too much water, but it'll dry out. It'll be just fine. And then I'll go ahead and stick my cage on it. That'll help support it a little bit as well. And now if you wanted to, you could tie this out. So you tie it off to the cage so it'd stand a little bit more straight. But as it starts to grow, I'll just work it and, just kind of control it so it doesn't grow outside of the cage. Keep it inside the cage and it'll support it. It'll be just fine. It's not going to hurt it at all. So what I use to secure these cages are these T-posts, fence posts. So I just drive them into the ground. What I need to do is put a hole in the landscape fabric, or the again, the weed barrier here, so I can drive my fence post down through it. I got to clear out some of that dirt. It's not wanting to burn through the dirt. Where's my mallet? And then just drive it in. Give myself a little bit more. And that should do. I'll come back later and tie this off. I'm gonna put one more on the other side and that will hold this thing in place. No problem whatsoever. All right, so we've got a whole row of tomatoes to plant out here. Luckily, my wife is gonna be helping me. I'm not gonna do it all by myself, but there's no sense you need to watch me plant out all of these tomatoes. We'll come back and show you kind of what we're planting as we go. I think I've got 2 cherry tomatoes. I'm gonna put one here. And then let's see, we're planting Mortgage Lifter Red, which is a big heirloom slicing tomato, and some Amish paste. So we'll probably take up most of this row with tomatoes, if not all of it. All right, so I got quite a bit planted out already. What I've done here is, I've got my 2 cherry tomatoes over here on the side, then I've got 4 Mortgage Lifter Reds, which are an heirloom beefsteak tomato, and then I've got, I think, 8 Amish paste, which I'm gonna use for canning. So I want a little more of those plants because I'll be canning and preserving those. The Mortgage Lifters are more the slicing tomatoes that I'll eat fresh. And 4 plants is probably too many, honestly. I don't know that I can keep up with that many tomatoes, but I'm gonna do my best and give it a try. And again, 8 Amish paste tomatoes. I ran out of tomato cages, so I don't have cages on the last couple of tomatoes down here. But I'll build some more cages and I'll get them on them. They don't need them right now, they just need them in the next couple of weeks. And then down at the end, I've got some pepper plants. Let me take you down there and show you what I've got going on down there. All right, so hopefully you can see all this. I've got, let's see, 8 jalapeno plants behind me here. And then these are habaneros. I've got 4 habaneros right here. These are, well, maybe I did more jalapenos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, no, that's right. 8 jalapenos, 4 habaneros, 2 poblanos there. Over on this side, I've got 2 banana peppers. I've got, let's see, what is this? A habanada, which is like a habanero, has a flavor of habanero, but it doesn't have any of the heat of a habanero. There's a chocolate pepper somebody gave me. I don't know what to expect from that. It may be good, it may not be, but they gave it to me, so I figured why not plant it. And then these 2 are Cayenne Peppers. They plant the same way the tomatoes do, not quite as deep. And I don't cage my peppers. You can see a couple of them over here are leaning a little bit. I think they'll pick back up. If they don't, I'll put a stake in the ground and tie them off to hold them up. But I don't cage my peppers. I don't ever find it really necessary to do. And then behind me, I've got some cantaloupe. Let me bring you in close and show you this. Okay, so you can probably see this. This is a tomato cage right here that I've got standing up. A short one, but it's a tomato cage nonetheless. And then I've got my, let's see, there's a cantaloupe right there. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. There's actually 2 in each one. These are transplants from a seed tray, and I'm leaving 2 of them in there for now, but I'll probably go out and thin them out to 1 each, because that's a lot of cantaloupe, first of all. But what they'll do is they'll climb this, so they don't take a whole lot of space up in the garden. I always trellis my cantaloupe. I do my cucumbers the same way. I'll plant them a little bit denser, but and I'll do 2 cages next to each other. I'll do a lot more cucumber, but they'll be done the same way. I just like to separate my cucumber and my cantaloupe because they can cross-pollinate, and you get some weird cucumbers when that happens. So I like to keep my cucumbers separate. I'll do those down at the other end of the garden. Let's see, I will go back and thin these out. I've left them 2 in each one right now, like I said, because of the seed trays. They just came out of the seed tray and into the ground, and if there's any transplant shock, I want to let, see if one of them does better than the other, and then I'll go ahead and thin them out once they get established. All right, and then down here, let's see, we've got a couple of summer squash, a couple of zucchini. Same thing with those. I left them 2 each because they just came out of the seed trays, let them go through transplant shock, then pick the strongest one and thin it down to 1. These are spaced at 36 inches apart because they are huge plants. They take up a lot of room. I don't like to crowd them. I probably could have got away with like, I don't know, 30 inches, 32 inches maybe, but I went ahead and went with 36 inches each. Let's see, I talked about spacing on the other things too. My tomato plants are 32 inches apart. You can get away a lot closer than that, but I like to have a little space between the cages to be able to walk in and out of them. The pepper plants here are, see, I want to say they're 18 inches apart this way, and about 24 inches apart that way. So that gives them plenty of room. They should do just fine with that. All right, have to scrounge down a little bit to get in the camera view here, but I wanted to show you how I do my seeds. I'm going to be planting some green beans here, and they need to be planted out at 4 inches apart. So what I've done is I've taken a piece of cardboard here and made myself a little template. These are 4 inches apart, off-centered. So 4 inches from here to here to here, 4 inches. Hopefully that makes sense. So 4 inches apart. So this makes it pretty easy. I can just kind of line up with the center stripe that goes down here, and then just burn a hole in each one and move on down the row. It's not quite wide enough to go all the way across, so I'll have to do it like this and then line up the holes and move it across. But anyway, it works pretty well. Gives me something to kind of go off of. So if I do, let me make sure I got this. I've forgotten what I'm doing here. Like this, and then that one. Oh yeah. Yeah, okay. So then I just line up, yeah, there we go. And I'll be able to line up on the other side just fine. All right, so let's get going here. Just pick a spot, get it lined up kind of straight. See through there, I think. All right, I think we're good there, so go putting some holes in it. My lighter, if it will light, there we go. And I don't need to burn a complete hole. I just need to make a little dot in each one so that I can come back. I'll make it bigger without the cardboard on there because I don't want to catch the cardboard on fire. And since these are seeds, these holes don't need to be all that big. So there's a whole set of holes right there. And then to do the next set, I just line them up and work my way across. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. I'm going to do a bunch of green beans down this road, and then we'll come back and we'll go from there. Well, I think that's about it for today. I've got some green beans planted right here beside me. I'll come back in a couple of weeks and sow another series of green beans so that I have some continuous harvest off those. Same thing, I've got some corn planted way up there. I'll probably come back and do a little bit more in a couple of weeks. I've got a big section right here in the middle I don't have filled in. I'm not sure what I'm going to put there yet. So if you got any ideas on what else to grow, put it down in the comments below. Let me know, and I'll see what I can do. Maybe I'll put something else in the ground here. Still got the cucumbers to put in, but I got to get a couple of cages built for that. So I got to pick up the stuff. They can wait a couple of days. It's not that big a deal. But other than that, everything's planted. It's supposed to rain tonight, so it's supposed to rain for the next couple of days, I think. Well, actually, tomorrow's not supposed to rain, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I think it's supposed to rain about every day, so that's good. I won't have to water. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. As always, God bless.